When you're designing either a recording or a session that you're going to deliver to a client, how important is it to consider the various learning styles, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, etc. And when Sue says etc., what she means by that is are the other two ways that we interface with the world, which would be olfactory, the way we take in smells, and gustatory, when we taste things. So these are not only learning styles, and when you get into taste and smell, it doesn't seem like you would learn that way, but you can actually remember things very well based on smell. You can remember the smell of nature, or the smell of roses, or a certain perfume or cologne, for example. But when we talk about auditory, visual, and kinesthetic, those are the big three, and we always want to address those in a hypnosis session. We want to have, in other words, something for people to look at. So I pan the camera around here. We'll look at the water here off the coast of Seattle. So you'd want to have, let's say I'm using this, and I'm using this as a hypnosis session, or for a hypnosis session. I would describe it. I would say that you can see the beautiful green leaves of the trees. I would say that in the distance, you can see the beautiful blue water. You can see a ship or a boat out there also. So I would describe that. Mountains in the distance, I would describe that. But there are also things to hear. I'm hearing an airplane flying overhead. And perhaps I'm not quite able to see it, but I can hear it. I can hear the wind blowing through the trees. Perhaps I can hear myself walking as I'm walking through nature. And perhaps I can reach out and I can touch something kinesthetic. I can touch a tree. I can feel nature. I happen to be in a park, so I can feel the railing. I can see how that feels on my hand as I continue walking. So these are the types of things that you want to involve. And really, the barrier. Even if someone is primarily visual, they primarily relate to things that they see, I can still describe things that they can hear, as long as they're able to hear. It's going to make sense to them. So we want to be careful not to rule out anything. Just because you have determined they're primarily visual, you don't want to rule out things that you can hear, like the wind or the breeze or an airplane. Just because they're auditory doesn't mean that you want to base everything on sound. Just because they're kinesthetic doesn't mean you want to base everything on touch or movement. You want to have a wide variety of paints on the canvas. You want to make it as colorful as possible to involve them in it, because they are to some degree going to pick up on each one of those things. Though they may primarily relate to auditory, visual, or kinesthetic interactions with their universe, they are going to relate to all of them to some degree. So always paint a rich picture when you're talking about things. What can you see? What can you hear? Perhaps you can smell the beautiful scent of nature. You can feel how your body feels as it walks. You can hear your feet as they walk in nature. You can see off in the distance beautiful blue skies. All right. So there's your answer. You want to involve everything that you can, and it's very important, because you never are really going to know for sure that they are primarily oriented toward one system unless you really get to know them well. And when you're making a recording or working with a client, especially for the first time, you're just taking your best educated guess. You really don't know for sure, so always include all of those.